You ever find yourself watching a video online and it looks super scientific, sounds really convincing, but something in your gut just feels off? Well, today we are diving headfirst into a story that starts with a pretty simple question, but ends up being this incredible lesson in how misinformation works in the wild.
Yeah, I know it sounds a little out there, but for years, paranormal investigators have been saying that the sensors inside our phones can actually pick up on electromagnetic fields, or EMFs, and for them, that's the telltale sign of ghostly activity. It's a huge thing in the ghost hunting world.
But what if we took that exact same idea and pointed it at a way more modern fear? Some people are convinced you can use your phone, not for ghosts, but to find hidden nanobots or microchips, the ones they say are being implanted in us. So let's break down how they claim this whole thing works.
So, the key to all of this, whether you're hunting for ghosts or hunting for microchips, it all comes down to one specific piece of tech. It's a sensor that used to be pretty common in older phones called a magnetometer. And this is where our deep dive into a very strange, very convincing experiment really begins. So the whole premise is pretty straightforward, right? Just like ghost hunters use their EMF meters to find spirits, a whole community of DIY experimenters are now saying they can use their phone's built-in magnetometer to hunt for signals from hidden technology. In a way, they're both searching for invisible worlds hiding right under our noses.
Now, what's really fascinating is how they actually do it. The process they lay out is so methodical, it feels incredibly scientific, and it's all designed to make you think, hey, this is a real experiment I could do myself. So let's walk through the steps they give. Okay, so the method starts with a very specific tool, an older phone with a magnetic sensor, because apparently newer models are, and I quote, absolutely useless. Next, you've got to get a baseline reading, somewhere far away from any electronic interference. Then, to make sure your signal is clean, you use a Faraday cage. It's basically just a metal box to block all the outside noise. And here's the final, most important step. You have to look for this very specific, kind of weird signature they call a negative ion transfer.
I get this. They even provide data to prove it works. You can see here, the baseline reading outside the cage is 42 microteslas. Once inside, it drops. See? Proof the cage is working. But here's the kicker. When a tiny, unpowered microchip is put inside the cage, the reading goes up, but it's still lower than the original baseline. Their conclusion, the chip must be absorbing energy from the phone, proving the sensor is actually sensitive enough to detect it.
So you might be thinking, how could a tiny phone sensor possibly detect billions of even tinier nanobots? Well, the theory they propose is that all those tiny little fields would add up. There wouldn't be a billion separate signals. They'd all accumulate into one big, powerful field that would be super easy for the phone's sensor to spot. It sounds kind of plausible, doesn't it?
Okay, let's really get into this. For real this time. We've seen the experiment, we've heard the theory, it all seems so methodical, so careful, but the moment you start looking closely at the actual science they're using, the whole thing just completely falls apart.
First things first, the basic physics. The experiment claims that RFID works because of a negative ion transfer. Yeah, that's just not how it works at all. RFID technology uses radio frequency energy. It's all about electromagnetic waves, not ions being passed back and forth. The entire foundation of the experiment is built on a total misunderstanding of the tech.
And second, let's talk about the tool itself. A magnetometer, the sensor in the phone, it measures the strength of a magnetic field. That's it. It gives you a reading in units called microteslas. It has absolutely nothing to do with ions or ion transfer. So the creator is fundamentally misreading what the numbers on his own screen even mean.
And this is the fatal flaw. This is the moment the whole house of cards just collapses. The experiment's grand conclusion is that there are no chips, because the sensor found a positive ion transfer instead of the negative one he was looking for. But that critical requirement, the one rule that the entire experiment hinges on, it's completely made up. It's a goalpost that the creator just invented for his own game, and it has zero basis in actual physics.
So, if the science is total nonsense, what in the world is going on here? Is it just some guy who made a mistake? Nope, it's something way more deliberate, and honestly, way more interesting. Let's actually meet the person behind these videos.
And there it is. The creator just comes right out and says it flat out. The whole conspiracy, the detection method, the negative ion transfer, all of it is fake. But then he says something crucial. The details inside his fake story, those are true. And that right there is the entire point of the exercise.
So how does he make these fake theories feel so real? Simple.
He weaves in these little nuggets of verifiable and often pretty bizarre truth. If you look at some of his other stuff, he pulls in real facts, like the military actually using the video game StarCraft for training, or the CDC really publishing a zombie survival guide. It's true. By mixing these strange but true facts into his fiction, he makes the whole crazy narrative feel disturbingly plausible.
Okay, so why? Why go to all this trouble to build such a detailed, elaborate fake? Well, this isn't just about trolling people online. The creator has a very clear mission for this whole playlist, which he calls Asshole Mode Activated. It's basically performance art, and it has a really powerful purpose.
To really get what he's doing, you have to be in on the joke. He hides a secret signal in his most over-the-top fake conspiracies, the phrase, "there is a cow level." Now, for anyone who's a gamer, that's a classic reference to an old urban legend about a secret level in the game Diablo. It's a giant, flashing neon sign that says, "Hey, I'm messing with you right now."
And here's a perfect example. He spins this absolutely wild story about a video game glitch that supposedly predicted social distancing, and he packs it with true details about the game developer Ubisoft. And how does he cap off this grand, paranoid theory? Wake up, people, there is a cow level. It's his signature move.
So what's the ultimate goal of Asshole Mode? The creator himself says it's the equivalent of The Onion. It's satire. The whole project is designed not to fool you, but to teach you. The point isn't to make you believe in microchips. The point is to build a lie so convincing and pepper it with so much truth that you're forced to actually stop and think critically. The cow level is the final clue. It's like a reward for figuring out that you've just been put through a masterclass on how to spot misinformation.
And really, that brings us to the most important takeaway from this whole thing. It's all about learning to see the difference between something that just sounds scientific and something that is scientific.
On the one hand, you've got the pseudoscience, a simple, authoritative-sounding phrase like positive ion transfer. It's easy to say, it's easy to repeat, and it sounds all technical and smart. But in this context, it's totally, completely meaningless.
And then you've got this. This is a page from Richard Feynman's actual work on quantum electrodynamics. It is complicated, it is intimidating, and for most of us, it's pretty much impossible to understand. But this is what real science often looks like. It's messy, it's difficult, and it's rarely clean and simple.
And that leaves us with a really important question. See, this creator left a secret handshake for his audience, a little wink to let them in on the joke. But most of the misinformation out there doesn't play that fair. It doesn't come with a handy little signpost. So in a world that is just flooded with convincing fakes, how do we train ourselves to spot the tells? How do we find the real cow level that's hiding in plain sight in the news we read and the videos we watch every single day? Learning to do that is the real lesson of Asshole Mode.